I wasted years and years of my life struggling against the Scandinavian until I learned what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes. I'm going to teach you how to have fun, but also how to win a lot of games quickly and in epic style against the Scandinavian. Let's go. All right, guys, so this is part 4 in a series where I'm helping you build an opening repertoire with E4. So after you play E4, there's a lot of things that your opponents could play. We already talked about E5, C5, and C6. And in this video, we're going to talk about D5, which is the Scandinavian. Now, what I used to do was take the pawn. And then I really had a tough time for the rest of the game. I always felt like my opponents knew more than me and got into better positions than I could out of the opening. Now, there's nothing wrong with taking, and if you want to spend a bunch of time learning a bunch of lines, you can play that. But what I recommend instead, and what I've been doing for the past few years with great success, is the move D4. This totally changes the opening from a Scandinavian to what's called the Blackmar Gambit. And the reason we're doing this is primarily, number one, to take our opponents out of their comfort zone because they're not going to be used to seeing this. This is usually an opening that you would get from D4, D5, and E4. But instead, we're obviously getting it from E4, D5, D4, right? So we're surprising them. And number two, it sets you up for some really easy attacking plans that anybody can follow. If you're rated 800 or 1200 or 1600, or like myself, 23, 2400 on a good day, I can play these lines and I have a lot of fun, okay? So let's talk about it. Most people are going to take you. Okay, they could, play the French defense or transpose to the Caro-Kann or do something else crazy. But if they wanted to play those other openings, they would have just done it from the start. They wouldn't have played the Scandinavian. So most people are like, well, I guess I got to take it. And this is the best move. So this is what you're going to see most often. Now we're going to attack the pawn with their knight. And most players are going to defend it with their knight. If they do anything else, just know it's not going to be as good of a move. So for example, F5 might look logical because you defend it with the pawn, but really you're just creating weaknesses here and here. And we're going to play F3, sacrificing another pawn just to open up the position. Our knight is ready to jump out. This knight is in good position. Black, meanwhile, has not developed a single piece. We're going to play bishop C4. We're going to castle. We're going to use the open files, and we're going to have a great position. Okay, so I don't want you to worry about this position too much. Let's instead focus more on knight to F6. Now, the way that we're going to approach this is F3, okay? Now, for those of you who have been following this series, I want to back up. This is important that you understand this. When I talked about the Caro-Kann, okay, I told you we're going to play knight C3. When they take us, we're going to play bishop C4. When they go here, we're going to play F3. Look at this position very carefully, guys. We've got the pawn on D4, the knight on C3, the bishop on C4, we're playing F3. It is almost, I'm going to go back to our main line here. It is almost the exact same position as this, okay? You will notice there is one difference. Our bishop is not on C4 and their pawn is not on C6. So there's two moves that have not happened, but everything else is the same. Why am I telling you that? Because the ideas and the concepts and the tactics that we saw in that other video are going to apply here as well. Now, when you're building an opening repertoire, this is extremely valuable because one of the things that makes you a good player is being able to quickly recognize the tactics in any given position, okay? So this is really handy if you think about it because now when you're facing the Scandinavian, you're going to end up in similar types of positions as when you are facing the Caro-Kann. And guess what? Your brain is going to know the tactical patterns and you're going to be ready to checkmate your opponent. Okay, so I just want you to be aware of that. That's what's going on. It is going to look very similar to a previous lesson that we talked about. Okay, so let's go back. Where am I going? Sorry, back to here. Okay, so they take us, we attack, they defend, we play F3. Most people are going to take you. Now, some stronger, higher level players, are afraid of your gambit and they'll play the move E3. It's kind of an annoying move because it doesn't let us attack quite like we would want to, but we're getting our pawn back right away. And it's a relatively equal position. We have a slight advantage. You develop your pieces, you bring out your knight, you bring out your queen, you can castle either way, and the game goes on. So nothing to worry about, but it's more fun for us when they take the pawn. Okay? We're going to take back. Now, most people in this position, from my experience, will do one of three things. Number one, they will play C6. And it's kind of like one of those moves where, okay, you're stopping the knight from coming in, you're controlling the center, you're letting your queen out, And if you would like, and this is what I recommend, you transpose exactly to the Caro-Kann lines that we looked at before, and you play bishop c4. Here we are. This is, remember I told you the only thing that was missing from the position was those two moves? Now they've just happened, and we've transposed exactly to the previous video. You can go watch that if you want, or just keep going with this video, all right? So we're not gonna talk about that, but I like to just transpose, all right? The other thing they can do is play e6. This is what players who are very passive and want to just be really solid, they don't really want to, get checkmated early, they want to just survive, they'll play e6. The reason why is they keep the bishop back. They don't have to worry about any tactics, they don't have to worry about you attacking their bishop and making them do something they're uncomfortable with. They just keep it real solid. They're usually going to bring out the bishop next and castle quickly. And they might think that the way they're playing, is solid, they can't get attacked. But no, we are going to attack them. So against e6, I recommend you play the move bishop d3. This bishop is going to be the key piece in delivering checkmate to their king. Okay, so bishop e7, we are going to castle. Notice that the pawn not being on f2, because we sacrificed it earlier, remember that, is actually very good for us when we want to attack, because our rook can very quickly come into the game. This is what's called a rook lift if we ever bring it up and over. I talk about that in my middle game guide, which I'll link in the description. It's free, gives you 10 ideas, that you can use in the middle game. Highly recommend you get that. But being able to do a rook lift is very valuable. If the pawn is on f2, you can still do a rook lift, but it takes a lot longer because now you have to go rook e1, rook e3, and come up and over this way. It just adds more work for you, right? We don't have to worry about it. We just come up and over once the knight moves, obviously. So like I said, most people are going to castle here, okay? That's what they wanted to do. They just wanted to develop quickly and get their king to safety. The problem is it's not safe. Now here's how we're going to attack, okay? This is the most important part of this whole video probably. Queen to e1. Remember this idea, guys. Queen to e1 is taking another advantage for us that this pawn is gone on f2 because the queen can now easily and quickly come over to the king side, and guess what? If you notice the bishop and the queen, we almost have a checkmate. Yes, I noticed that the knight is on f6 defending it, but that knight is actually very easy to get rid of. As an example, b6, queen to h4, bishop to b7. These are all natural moves from black, by the way. Like you're just, you're playing some good moves, you're trying to develop your pieces, and you're already borderline about to lose the game, okay? Bishop to g5. Notice we've developed all of our pieces. Black is still trying to develop, but more importantly, we are threatening to simply win the game. Okay, if black plays any random move, guess what? Thank you very much. We have checkmate. Okay, this is very similar to what you've seen in the Caro-Kann video, right? Same idea. So most people at this point are gonna be like, oh, okay, I see what they're trying to do. I will defend it with my knight. Now, I would like you guys to pause. Do you notice any tactics in this position for white? All right, if you had a chance to look at that, hopefully you spotted it, but we can actually sacrifice our bishop here to the knight. The reason is we have a battery here that's lined up on the bishop on e7, and if they take us, we simply take here and we get a fork, and black is already in trouble. They're losing material, not to mention their king is going to be exposed long term because the pawn is gone. It's a bad situation for black, okay? So that is one example, all right? We already talked about we're going to just take here and get checkmate. Another one that's very common is players will play the move h6 because they think, okay, I'm not going to let you get there because my pawn is now in the way. So again, do you guys spot anything in the position? All right, if you had a chance to look at that, and maybe you've remembered this from the previous video or on the Caro-Kann video, but all we're going to do is sacrifice our bishop. And the bishop is just doing its job to get rid of the two pawns that are in front of the king, and then the rest of the pieces, including the queen and sometimes even the rook, will help us deliver the checkmate, okay? Black can try several different things, but our plan is basically going to be the same. We're going to bring this knight forward most of the time. Usually g5 is the best, and we have a couple of ideas. Number one, we're clearing the way for the rook. If we need to sacrifice for some reason to set up the checkmate here, we can do it. In this case, it doesn't make sense because there's another knight ready, but if that knight was somewhere else, maybe this would be the simplest. The other thing is we can also come up and over for a rook lift. We have to be careful here, obviously, because there's a bishop, but sometimes if the bishop's not there, you can also go here. The point is we come up and we get ready to come over and attack the king this way. Sorry, like this. And then also with the knight on g5, it opens you up to this one. This is very common. I have won many games like this. If they play rook e8. White to play and win, what's the move? Or if you had a chance to look at that. So black is trying to clear the square because maybe they want to run with their king in some cases. Maybe they want to bring pieces over to help. We don't care. We go in with the bishop check. If they take us, it leads to a very simple checkmate, takes and checkmate, okay? And so what a lot of people will do is try to avoid that, king h8, but then knight takes f7 is just checkmate immediately, okay? I mean, you can just kind of see how dangerous this is, right? I'm showing you very logical moves from black. I mean, if we go back and look at the moves that black has played in this position, they have not done anything crazy. They took the pawns. They played, sorry, not c6. I want to go to the e6 line. They played e6. They played bishop e7. They castled. They're following all the principles. Develop the pieces, castle the king, develop the other piece over here. Okay, develop the knight to d7, not a6. Sorry, knight to d7, right? All these moves are logical, and yet they end up a few moves later getting checkmated, right? Even here, h6, they try to defend, and they still end up getting checkmated a few moves later. So very, very dangerous, and this is kind of the idea of what we are trying to do. Okay, so let me go back for a moment. So we talked, nope, not that one. Sorry, I have so many lines here. And I am going to be sharing these lines with you guys so you can paste these into chess.com or Lichess if you want. You could follow along. So they take us, we attack, they defend, we go f3. They take, we take, and we just saw what happens. If they play e6, our plan is going to be the same. Bishop d3, castles, and then queen e1 to h4. Now I want to talk about one thing. Sometimes people will not castle. And it's a sad day when they don't. Okay, trust me, I know, because I've been there. But what we're going to do is basically just play chess. We can still castle, be ready in case they do. But if for some reason they don't, they start doing other stuff, just develop your pieces, play like bishop e3. Let's say they play c6, you know, put your queen somewhere. You can put it on e1 if you want, because I always like to be ready in case they do castle, because it's very common. But if not, rook d1. And then again, they could still like say, no, I'm not going to castle. I'm just going to do this and actually castle the other way. And then you're playing chess. You know, sometimes I like to attack in the center if they're going to just never castle. So for example, like knight g5 or move the bishop and try to unleash some of these pieces. It's not as easy to attack, but you can still do it and you still have a great position. You can see Stockfish says advantage for white, even though we are down the pawn, it really likes our position. Okay, so I just wanted to mention that, but it's much more fun when they do castle right away. Now, I told you that there was kind of three main things. We talked about c6. It just transposes to the Caro-Kann. Go watch that video if you haven't. We talked about e6. We're going to just attack and line up on their king via queen e1 h4. The other thing that they will do is bishop to g4. Now, bishop to g4, we do want to approach this in the correct way, because if we don't, they can actually get some nice play. And here's what I have. I did this a lot of studying on this, and here's what I have found. The move h3 is the trickiest way to approach the position for black, right? Or to make it the most tricky for black, I should say. So what are we doing? Well, there's two options for black. They either are going to give up the bishop, or they're going to try to go back and keep the bishop. So let's talk about if they give it up. By the way, the weaknesses that we are creating, it's important to note that black is not in a position to take advantage of them. If they had a bishop here and a queen was ready to jump in, I would be very careful playing a move like this, because I do create these weaknesses, but they are not in a position. These pieces are blocked. They can't come out right away, and we're going to have time to consolidate and get the king castled, and we're going to be fine. So don't worry about that. It's more important that we force the bishop to make a decision. So they take us. We're going to take with the queen. Yes, our pawn is under attack, but they cannot really take that because we are also attacking them, and our threat is much more powerful because now the rook is stuck in the corner. They can't really save the rook. And I think black is just losing in this position. We're going to take the rook at some point. I mean, they can throw in a random check, but we just move our king and we're fine. Okay? So most people are going to see that and play the move c6. And what we're going to do now is defend the pawn. And it's almost the same thing where a lot of people at this point are like, okay, I'll play e6, bishop b7, and castle, right? And guess what? We're going to go bishop d3. We're going to castle. And we're still using this open file to attack. Now, it's a little bit different. It's slightly not exactly the same, but the idea is attack the king, right? We just do it in a different way. I'm going to recommend creating a triple battery like this. And the reason we're doing this is because these rooks can come in handy sacrificing to get rid of some of black's defensive options. So I'm going to show you a very common example of this. If black plays the move knight to d5, which is a move that you will see from time to time, we can play queen e4. And we're creating this sneaky checkmate. Okay, if they take us, we go in for the checkmate, right? So you might say, well, Nelson, can't they just play knight f6 and let's see, defend their knight, defend the checkmate, attack our queen, make us move our queen? Like, aren't we in trouble? No. White's play and win. What's the move? Well, this is a line that I showed. I actually made a video like 2 years ago covering the same kind of thing. And so some of you might remember that video. But the move is rook takes f6. We're actually going to do a double rook sacrifice to support the checkmate threat. So we get rid of the knight. They can take it with the other knight, still defending. And guess what? We do it again. We sacrifice it again. And then thank you very much. There's a checkmate. So beautiful example of how having those rooks in position in just a couple of moves are the key pieces to give us a checkmate, right? Like, I mean, if you back up just a few moves, you might think, Nelson, what am I realistically going to do with these rooks, right? This is why you have to really pay attention when things change. As soon as they give us this e4 square for our queen, immediately we jump on it. We attack, right? Another example could also be queen h5. This one is not as good because now they could play g6 and we lose time on our queen. But they could still realistically make the same mistake. Takes, checkmate, right? Sorry. Same kind of thing is possible. So just an example, okay? So going back here, just to kind of recap, we're going to put our pieces like this. We are going to castle kingside, lining up here. I'll give you another option if you don't like that for whatever reason. You could also castle this way and then throw your pawns forward and attack like this. There's nothing wrong with this either if you like that better. I personally like to just castle kingside and get the rooks there. This is another plan as well. If you're more comfortable attacking with pawn storms, also a good strategy, and it's a lot of fun. Of course, black's probably going to attack you, but I think in general, our attack seems to be a little bit faster, and that's why I like these kind of positions, okay? So let's go back and recap this, okay? Remember, all that I was just sharing you was after bishop g4, h3 if they take our knight, okay? We come out with the queen, and then we develop the pieces and we attack. We use the open files, we push the pawns, we sacrifice the rooks if we have to. Great. Now, the other thing that they can do is go back to h5. Okay, and what we are going to do is play g4. And we are going to break the pin. And this is very aggressive. I mean, this is something that you want to make sure you know what you're doing if you're going to be throwing your pawns forward like this, because we sacrificed a pawn, now we're throwing these forward. So we are creating weaknesses. But you will notice black is still kind of trying to catch up on development. They're not in a great position to take advantage of the weaknesses that we are creating. This is a good question just in general when you're playing chess and you're thinking about creating a weakening move. You have to ask yourself the question, if I play this weakening move, can my opponent take advantage of it quickly? If the answer is no, then it might make sense to actually consider it. If you see a way they can take advantage of it, don't play it, okay? So we play g4, they go back. Why did we want to do that? Knight to e5. We are trying to get this bishop, okay? If you don't know this, in general, having two bishops against your opponent, let's just say one bishop and a knight or two knights, is good for the person who has the bishops, especially on an open board when there's lots of diagonals available, which this is a pretty open position, right? There's lots of places that this bishop can go, this bishop can go. The bishops are going to be better. So, investing a little bit of time to hunt down this bishop is going to be good for us, okay? Now, the other interesting thing about this, most people will play a move like e6 here, is we are not going to just take it right away. Because if we take it right away, black's going to take back, and now we've opened up their rook, and we have to watch out for some tactics here. For example, something like this is possible because there's a pin here. We can't take them. And it just puts a lot of pressure on our position when we don't need to do that. So what are we going to do instead? Ready? This is a critical move here. Bishop to g2 first. Now, why are we playing bishop g2? We want to get control of this diagonal right away. Okay, and that's important because if we don't do that, then sometimes this bishop can jump in and cause us problems along the diagonal. It's before we get a chance to control it. Okay, so first things first, bishop g2, threaten here. Most people are going to see the threat and they're going to play c6. And now that we've gotten control of the diagonal with our bishop, we go back to our plan of hunting down the bishop, but instead of taking it right away, we play h4. I would like you to pause and try to think, why am I saying we play h4 in this position? If you had a chance to look at that, the idea is we would like to trap the bishop. So for example, if they play bishop e7, h5 traps the bishop. You cannot stay there, we will take you. You cannot go here, we will take you. You cannot go here because guess what? The bishop that I told you to put there is now defending. You can't go here and you can't take this. So the bishop is trapped. Okay, very simple threat. Of course, most people are going to see it. I'm just telling you this is what we're doing. Why is this significant? Because the only way for black to easily save the bishop is to, well, Stockfish says you can do something crazy like sacrifice it, I guess, and something about queen d4, and it gets kind of wild, but still a good position for white. We play queen e2. Anyway, most people aren't going to do that. Most normal people are either going to play h6 or h5, because that's, you know, the only move that kind of comes to most people's mind. How do you save your bishop? Well, you give it a place to move. That's it, right? h6, now you will notice that when we take this, remember earlier I said we didn't want to do it because they would take back and then their rook is bothering us. Now, they can't take that way. That pawn is moved. They have to take this way. And this is a totally different situation. Why? Number one, the rook is not attacking us. Number two, they have to double up their pawns this way, which leaves this guy as an isolated target. Number three, this g6 square is a weakness in and of itself because we've forced them to move this. So for example, queen d3 is an extremely annoying threat for black. How do you deal with this? You have no pieces that can defend this square except your king. We are on move, this is move 12. Okay, you do not want to be moving your king on move 12 out to defend a pawn. If you're doing that, you've done something clearly wrong, right? And white has a fantastic position. Rook to f1 is the most powerful move. By the way, not castling because we don't want to have our king potentially, you know, be in check in the future. And so leaving it here is actually safer, and maybe we castle this way. But we line up, we're threatening to play g5 and attack the knight. It's a bad position for black, and we're going to be on the offensive, and black's going to be trying to survive, okay? Going back here, instead of h6, they could also play h5, but the idea is very similar. We're going to be taking this. We've created a weakness. Now we can push because they're attacking us, chase the knight somewhere. Let's say they jump into the center. And again, we have targets. We can attack with queen e2 is what Stockfish likes. Stockfish also says you can trade here first just to open up the king like this. And now castling does make sense. And we've got both files ready. Black's king looks so bare. Even though our king is kind of, it's not easy for black to attack us. And it's very easy for us to attack them, right? Stockfish loves the position, almost +5, right? Which is great. So let's just recap here what's going on. So remember, when they bring the bishop, we play h3. We already talked about if they take, pretty straightforward. If they go back, we are going to hunt down the bishop, knight to e5, but we're not taking it right away. We're going to set up a few things first. Number one, we're going to set up our bishop on this diagonal. And then when we're ready, we're going to play h4. We're trying to trap it. Most people are going to play one of two moves, h6 or h5. Both lead to very similar positions where we take, and then we get to go on the offensive and attack, and black's position really is a mess. Okay? This is extremely, I've been playing this at the 22, 23, 2400 level, and I almost always get great positions. Let me actually show you my win rate, and we'll see if I'm right about it. I think I have a fantastic win rate, but I'm going to actually show you. All right, guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm showing you the Explore tab over here. Instead of analysis, I clicked on Explore, and I'm going to change this from Master Games to My Games. You can see there it says Nelsey, all games with white. I've played 11,413 games with e4. I've faced d5 900 times. And let's compare. Yes, so I've taken this, and I've played d4, and you can see the win rates. When I capture it, my win rate is 53%, which, by the way, is not bad. That's not a bad win rate. But I'm even better when I play d4, 58% win rate, right? And then if they take, I play knight c3, 58% win rate. They defend, f3, they take, and I take back 60% win rate. Okay, I have a 60% win rate, 62% against this, 64% against this. Lots of nice victories. And so just wanted to show you, and this is, by the way, this is at a pretty high level. I mean, I'm like 2,400 roughly. And so if you're playing this at 1,200 or 800 or 1,000, I think you're going to even have better success, right? Because a lot of players are just not going to know how to handle these aggressive attacking positions. Okay, guys? So let's just go back very quickly. I'm going to jump over here for one more moment. So e4, d5, we are going to surprise our opponents with the move d4, take them out of their comfort zone. Most players are going to not be very familiar with this. We're going to play knight to c3, attack the pawn. We're going to gambit another pawn over here. By the way, if they let us, we're just going to obviously take it back. So most people aren't going to do that. And then we've talked about it after bishop g4. Just remember, h3, make them make a decision right away. We're happy if they take because the queen comes out. We go here, we go here, we go castle, we line up, we attack, we have a lot of fun. If they go back, we are going to be aggressive. We're going to jump our knight in. Remember bishop g2, important move. Sometimes I forget that one. Then we go h4, and when they move the pawn, we are going to take it and be very happy with our position because we've ruined their pawn structure. The king is very weak. We get to attack it with moves like queen d3, and I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun. Remember, this is a series where I'm giving you all the different ways you can play e4 against how black can respond. Okay, so if you want to see what to do against e5, go watch, I'll put it up here, this video, which was a different part in this series where I covered Scotch Gambit and how you can play against that. All right, so I'll see you guys over there. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.